Black Swan Media Studios, deep inside a secret underground bunker. We're speaking to freedom-loving patriots from all around the country and the world. Welcome to the Resistance. This is John Crump, live.
Thank you. We begin another week here on John Crump Live. I hope everyone enjoyed their Labor Day weekend. The end of the summer is here. Kids are back to school and all that good stuff, which is great if you're a parent, because that means you don't have to figure out what to do with your kids all during the summer. We are brought to you by Tusk. Tusk is a cryptocurrency from the firearms market, and it is great.
Proudly sponsored by TUSC, the only cryptocurrency designed with the firearms market in mind, with 3-second processing times. It's the fastest cryptocurrency on the planet. With lower transaction fees than traditional credit cards. It's perfect for your e-commerce needs. For gun guys, by gun guys. Visit TUSC.network for more information and join the digital revolution.
And we are sponsored by Black Swan Tactical, where you can get really cool patches like this. And also, by the way, I'm wearing a Tusk shirt, but a Black Swan Tactical, you can get other shirts, not the Tusk shirt, but other ones, and really cool patches like that. And yeah.
Black Swan Tactical, your number one source for 2A streetwear. With shirts, mugs, hats, patches, flags, and more. There's always something to help you rep the 2A community. All proceeds go back into our projects. Viewers and listeners can take an additional 10% off with code CRUMPY. Unapologetically pro-gun, pro-liberty, and pro-freedom gear for the front lines of the culture war.
And be sure to check out JSD Supply. Just Google JSD Supply, because I don't want to get the website, because I don't want to be demonetized. But they got really cool kits, like including this right here, which is 320. That is a 80%. Go over there and check them out. JSD Supply. Just Google that. And if you want really cool patches, go to Toxic Patch Code. ToxicPatchCode.com is the ones that make all the patches on Black Swan Tactical, and they have some really, really cool patches. And I see Zach out there who actually runs Toxic Patch Co. It is his company. Give me that tracking number, Zach. And with that, let's bring on my co-host and our guest of the day. First, from parts unknown, mainly Florida, where he fights alligators all day, it is Flying Rich.
Hey, John.
How are you doing,
Nice,
Flying
nice.
Rich?
And thank you, John. It's an honor to be with the biggest head on YouTube.
Thank you. I do have a massive head. And Sarah Albrecht from Hold My Guns, a good friend of mine. But first, Rich, how are you doing today? And how was your weekend? Labor Day weekend?
Good. You know, it was nice. I don't know if everybody's familiar with Judaism, but we sat Shiva. My mother-in-law passed a week ago Friday. We had the service Friday, and it was kind of a good experience. I kind of like how the Jews do that.
I thought you were going to talk about dreidels and stuff, but that's good.
No, it is Rosh Hashanah today, so it's the New Year on the Jewish calendar. That's where you atone for your sins, I think. I'll have to ask my wife.
All right. And Sarah, how was your Labor Day weekend?
I had a really good time. As you probably know, John, it's really hard for me to sit down and relax. And my family pretty much said, Sarah, you are going to the pool. You're going to float in the pool, and we're going to make sure you have a beer in your hand. So that's how I spent my day yesterday. It was the first time that I've been in the pool all summer, and it felt really good. I got just the right amount of sun that I'm not burned, because I have Scottish heritage, so I burn really fast, but just enough that it was sun-kissed, but felt really good. Yep.
Do you know who has a pool and has never floated with a beer in it?
You.
Yeah.
You've also never shot an AK in that pool either. But let's not talk about that.
That too, but
bucket list.
Yeah, there's a couple of things.
Why
As
not?
Florida man, I can't be Florida man. I got to get a swamp buggy ride, airboat ride, and go hog hunting. So once I get those done.
Okay. All right.
Good to see
I guess
Rich.
you're a New York man. All right. So let me tell you, my weekend was all about work. 2A. Actually, fighting off 2A things, but whatever. Fighting off other groups that aren't as 2A as we would like. But yeah, you can check out my other channel, John Crump News, for all that information. So Sarah here is from Hold My Guns, and there's a lot of misconceptions about what Hold My Guns is. So I'm going to ask some really tough questions. I already know the answer to them, but just to get it out of the way because people always ask.
Okay, bring it. And again, like I know I've said this to you before. Like, I'm a range safety officer. I love guns. We have tons of guns. We care about rights, and that is part of why we started Hold My Guns. And I would be really upset if people were just like, "Oh yeah, great idea, let's do it," without investigating it all. So I totally respect when people ask questions. It actually makes me really turned on and excited that people care about our rights. So ask away, John.
All right, is Hold My Guns anti-gun?
No.
Are you planning on taking people's guns away, like red flagging them?
No, in fact, this is beautiful because it really takes out the legs underneath arguments that that people exploit mental health concerns or other concerns. It really takes the legs out from underneath this because from those efforts, because it is an opportunity to practice self-governance in a way that really keeps out outside intervention. So we're really proud of this as a way to help prevent people from having that sort of interaction with folks who don't care about their rights.
All right. Do you believe in red flag laws?
I do not personally. I am all about due process, and it really scares the hell out of me when anytime someone, whether it's taking a firearm or your home or whatever it might be, I think that people have a right to be present and to be aware of any proceeding that's happening against them. And the fact that due process has been threatened here really angers me at a very deep level.
And the hardest question, and this one, I'm sorry, but I have to ask this of you. Should Rich get a wig?
Oh, I'm trying to think what color of wig Rich might look good in. Halloween is coming up, so maybe a Rob Zombie wig would look really wild on him with some dreads, or maybe like a pink or blue bob. I'm just curious what it would look like.
Ooh.
Now, if he wore a turtleneck, would he look like a turtle?
How, John? Sarah's a nice girl, and I don't think she's going to answer that.
Would he look like a turtle? You really have to be quite a stretch of the imagination. He might look like an international spy if he had like a black turtleneck and a beret or something. Not quite turtle attire. I think he could rock anything.
Apparently, you owe Clover Tech a Coke.
I would love to give Clover Tech some. I'd love to share a Coke with him. I haven't seen him since I think SHOT Show. So I miss everyone. I'm looking forward to SHOT Show this coming year, and I will be at USCCA Expo in October. I am a confirmed speaker there. It's not quite listed on the website yet, but I will be talking about individualized safety planning and creating a plan for crises so that you have agency and a say over what happens if shit hits the fan. And we really want to encourage people to think ahead so that they're not finding themselves in a situation where they do get flagged. So that will be my topic, and I hope that I get to see folks at USCCI as well as SHOT Show.
All right. So a bunch of people are picking your wigs out. We have some green wigs, some bowl cuts, and everything else. All right. So before we go any further, I do want to pitch something that I will be doing on Saturday at 8 p.m.
Oh,
the press release went out. It is on MLN. It's going to be on Truth About Guns website and a bunch of other ones. But on Saturday at 8 p.m., we are having a streamathon you're not aware, September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And with that, if you don't know, I lost my niece back in February to childhood cancer. So I wanted to do something for childhood cancer. And then I found out that P80 Dan, that's his online name. We all have online handles. My online handle is John Crump, which is kind of ironic. So my name is Dave Hickenbacher, but I go by John Crump online. But I found out that his son has stage 3 cancer. So we're going to be doing a streamathon to raise money for that, for the care, because it can get real expensive, especially with family costs and everything. It's much more than just the cancer treatments. So we're going to be turning it off for all the super chats. Everything is going to go right to the GoFundMe, and we got some really awesome giveaways. We have SIG P320 kits from JFD. We have a bunch of Polymer 80 stuff. We got a backpack that actually turns into a freaking bulletproof vest, which is
cool,
insanely awesome. I ordered some really cool. I'll show you in a second. Some really cool stuff from a company. Some 80% lowers, basically.
Wow.
And we're gonna be doing the P80 kits and a lot of really cool stuff. So you can win a lot of cool stuff. So if you really want anything like that, then yeah, it's your opportunity to win some really cool stuff. I will show you
win while helping somebody.
I will show you a couple things that I purchased today, in fact, for it. And you think I got one of the last ones? So here. I'll show you what's going to be coming in here. Let me just go. First will be the Betsy Ross 80% lower. Let me see if I can blow this up here. See if I can get the here.
I got a tusk blower coming from them.
Yeah, so it have the 1776 flag on there.
Ooh,
so we got that.
Look at that.
And we have let me bring this one up. And this is what this is my donation along with the other thing. With the bulletproof backpack, the backpack that turns into a vest, front and back. And this is the No Step on Snake, 80%.
Cool. Now, are those serialized? Like, as in...
These are non-serialized. They're 80%.
No, but meaning there's a limited edition?
Yes.
Yeah, we have to be careful not to say the term serialized. It's a special edition, not serialized.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is some of the stuff that we're going to be giving away on Saturday.
So cool. And really, what a great cause. And that's Saturday at 8 p.m., right?
Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern.
You going to have some drinks with us then?
I could. I could. I was on with Joe from Shooting Gallery New England the other night, and I think you were there too, Rich. And what was I drinking?
Rich is on everybody's show.
He is. Some Jameson. I was drinking Jameson that night. That's usually my go-to. Yeah. I want to point out in the chat, Mr. Chuck Wagon said today's the last day to weigh in for pistol braces. So make sure that you guys go ahead and do that. It really is important that we make our voices heard and to be in that fight to protect rights and preserve rights. And it was when we first did our GoFundMe, Alex Bosco on our GoFundMe from SB Tactical donated $5,000 towards helping us with our initial legal fees. We were working with Josh Prince, who's a wonderful firearms attorney here on the East Coast. And Josh said, "Hey, Alex, would you be interested in helping us to get this boost? Because we need to cover these costs." And he stepped up and did that. So it's always a pleasure to just fight for SB Tactical and for pistol braces, which really is a lot bigger issue than just pistol braces. It has to do with not regulating firearms and to really get to the heart of that. So as a community, we really need to step up on that.
Yeah. Alex Bosco won't talk to me unless besides through his lawyer. I used to be able to call him directly on the cell phone, but for some reason it doesn't happen anymore.
I get it, John. You know, it's just one of those things when you're in investigative reporting that sometimes things can happen, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you guys want to go to a really cool place, you guys can head over to JSD Supply and pick up a kit or whatnot. And I even got something that I put on my Glock that turns it into a braced pistol, which is very cool.
That is very cool.
I actually got to fondle that. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Rich liked it.
Were you wearing a wig when you were fondling this? That's what we want to know.
No.
Okay.
And I've never worn a wig.
Okay. By the way, I heard your interview with Jordan Vinrow from JSD, and it was freaking amazing.
Yeah, Jordan's a awesome guy. I really like Jordan a lot. I talk to Jordan quite a bit.
Cool.
Really? He picks up the phone when you call? Because he doesn't pick up the phone when I call.
Yeah, well, I'm John Mother. Never mind.
No, his answers were on point, and that really, it affected, I'm in Pennsylvania, and that's something that really affected the gun show here. And so I was just so excited. I was like, "Ooh, John Crump's got this interview," and I tuned in and listened, and like the way that Jordan answers questions, it just gives me chills. He's amazing. So please say hi to him for me.
The reason why at that time I wasn't really friends with Jordan, I was like, okay, who's lying, Foak or Jordan? Or who's right? Well, Foak came out and basically admitted everything. Kim Stouffer on the interview admitted everything that he said he didn't do, but then admitted to it. Then emailed me and said, I want to know who videotaped me saying the stuff I didn't say.
Oh, that's tough. And to be fair, Foak has done a lot of great work in Pennsylvania. And so it's like one of those situations like we were just talking about a moment ago where sometimes people don't take calls or whatever. It's just there is so much at stake in the gun community, and it can be really hard at times. And I just always want to, we have to always go back to our principles, like how can we preserve freedom and whose side are we on? And so that's always my encouragement to folks. There's always going to be people who have different disagreements about things, but our goal is to really promote a liberty lifestyle. And that's something that I strive to do with Hold My Guns, that we really want to empower people to make decisions to support those values. And this really does fill a need. I haven't really said what we do yet. We partner with.
Yes, so I was going to say, you got to tell us your mission.
Yeah. So Hold My Guns, we partner with gun shops and we provide the offsite storage of firearms. It's voluntary. We do not ask why. We know that whatever reason that responsible gun owner is storing their firearms, it's going to do things like help prevent suicide, help prevent accidental shootings, help prevent theft of firearms. And not everyone has a friend or family member who is able to help hold a firearm for them if they have that need. And so it really is an opportunity that as a community that we can take leadership on this issue and that we can support our own community and help them, whether they're being deployed and they need someone to hang on their firearms while they're in another country, or whether they're going through a health crisis in their home, or maybe a son or daughter in their home is going through a crisis, or maybe someone in their home becomes prohibited. So we have to be able to provide answers to our community and come alongside and support. And I really see that as an opportunity here. The other cool thing is that because we are part of the firearms community, we can talk about suicide prevention in a very real way, in a way that actually equips people to be able to help each other. And so recently at Lower Providence Rod and Gun Club, along with Frank Tate, who's a member there, you might know him, as someone who's trying to become a member of the NRA board and reform the NRA. But Frank is a wonderful guy. He's in my neighborhood, and he helped to co-host a QPR, question, persuade, refer, suicide prevention gatekeeper training. And we trained 50 members of Lower Providence Gun Club, which include range safety officers, firearms instructors, and other members of our firearms community in suicide prevention training. And the thing that I absolutely love, and it's a certified course, so when you're listing your instructor credentials, you can now list that you are QPR certified. And what that does is it teaches techniques for being situationally aware and observing people at the range, which is something as a range safety officer we're trained to do anyway, to make sure people are being safe, but to learn how to ask questions that are respectful, but that you can help to make sure that that person truly is doing okay. And then I love that it has the refer component. It never expects someone to be a counselor, but instead it trains you to say, hey, here are the resources nationally and locally that we trust that you could call if you need help. And can I help you make those calls, and do a warm handoff in a kind and human way to say, is there anything I can do to help you get help? So I love that approach, and we were really excited. We brought it to 50 individuals at Lower Providence. By the way, they host really amazing IDPA matches there. And we're excited to be doing that again. And then I actually, it really resonated with me in a way that I'm actually pursuing becoming a QPR instructor so that we can go to different places in the firearms community, whether it's an FFL or a range or something, and we can teach others about suicide prevention so they can get certified as well. And the cool thing is that we can really customize that course to meet the needs of the firearms community. And it is really something that we can share about, hey, if you handle things in a voluntary way and you get help proactively, then you reduce your chances of being flagged. And that's really our hope. We really want to empower people to make good decisions and know what their options are so that they can make informed decisions of their own volition.
That is awesome. I just want to clear up something. I don't have a 6-story mansion with 6 gun rooms. I have a 5-story mansion with 6 gun rooms. All right. Just wanted to clear that up.
Well, I said you lived in the bad part of the neighborhood, and you're only allowed 3 stories above ground in your neighborhood.
Yeah, no, my house is only 3 stories
Above ground.
No, yeah, whatever. No, Rich. You know what, Sarah? I'm interviewing for a new co-host.
Yeah.
Would you be interested? Come on, I'm about to fire my current one. No.
But you can't make fun of Sarah. Sarah's smart, intelligent, good looking.
You really, there's a lot to make fun of. It's okay.
No, I am just
I
joking.
would. Sarah, I got to say, I don't know if I've said this in the past. I mad respect for what you do. Just thinking of it, I think it's a fantastic idea. And there's lots of us that have been in situations where we've needed that kind of help.
Apparently, I got a surface air missile on top of my mansion to keep you in check. But no, that would actually, because, his plane is usually on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Most planes are usually on the ground.
Oh. That's so mean. That's so mean, John.
I don't know if Sarah knows the joke, but I've crashed 2 of my planes.
You have told me that over a cigar and a drink, and John certainly brings it up at every opportunity he can. So yes. Apparently you even have your own sound effect.
Yeah, I was talking to 280 last night, and I was like, I need to get the sound effect for Rich. There's one of my sponsors right there, Toxic Patch Co. That car runs Toxic Patch Co. If you guys want to go to toxicpatchco.com and get some cool ass patches. Toxic Patch Co. is really awesome.
I think I got my pilot's license in 2002, and I haven't had a car accident since then, unless you count my second plane crash where I hit a car.
That's good. John, I need a sound effect too. This is not fair.
Say what?
There you go. That's your sound effect.
Okay. Oh,
I got plenty of sound effects.
good.
So, Sarah, as far as gun shop participation, how many places are actually participating in Hold My Guns?
So right now we have St. Bernard's Indoor Shooting Center in Louisiana. That is owned by Brandon LeBoeuf. He served in the Marine Corps.
Well, I know his brother.
Cool.
Shiloh.
There you go. There's a joke. You ever seen the Shia LaBeouf? You have to look that up. Where they're like they have these huge paper mache heads, and they're like in the forest with Shia LaBeouf. Anyway, no, but Brandon is phenomenal. Recently, their Louisiana was hit really hard with Hurricane Ida, and he even posted on his personal pages, if anyone needs anything, I just got my power back. I really want to help people. And it's just always a joy to work with him. Brandon truly has a heart for people. He also has a program that helps veterans acclimate, those who have served when they get back from deployment, to really help them to, he trains them in firearms instruction and running firearms businesses. So he provides them with employment and really helps them to get acclimated. And then our other storage partner is Casey Small Arms, and they're located in Massachusetts. They are on the it's run by Chris Graham, and they are on the same complex as Yankee Hill Machine. But Chris is phenomenal to work with as well. He really has a heart for protecting rights, and really just uses Casey Small Arms as a way that he can give back to the community and to support folks who need firearms storage for whatever reason. We do have a third partner in the works that will be greenlighting soon in the Pittsburgh area. It's also a veteran owned gun shop, and they really have wonderful training programs there as well. And they are in the attorney review phase. So we basically require that our gun shop partners, that they have a contract with their customers, and we have an attorney licensed in their state review that contract and write a quick note to attest, yep, they're compliant with the state and local laws, and that helps to reduce liability to our gun shop partners and to our nonprofit. So they are in the attorney review phase, and we're hoping to be able to announce soon the name of that gun shop and get them up and running. And we have had a number of gun shops. There really is a need. There is a need for gun shops to sign on. Something that I'm finding as I do some outreach, and then also we have folks reach out to us, is that a lot of the smaller kitchen table style FFLs, their heart is in the right place, but they do not carry general liability insurance. And that means that if something were to happen, if the customer's firearm were to incur any damage while it was being held, that they wouldn't have insurance to cover it. So we require that our gun shop partners have that insurance. So our hope is to kind of ramp up our outreach and to start contacting gun shops that are more established, that they're in a brick and mortar building, and that they carry general liability insurance. So again, if you know of anyone that would be interested in partnering with Hold My Guns, please send them our way.
So, Sarah, I got a question, because I've 3 stories. 2 are my own. I'm actually holding a gun for somebody that moved back to Italy.
Okay.
Is it bad if I do that as a personal individual? Like, what risks do I have?
Well, in the state of Pennsylvania, in order for someone to safe keep your firearm, and that might be law to look up under safekeeping laws. In Pennsylvania, you are allowed to hold on to someone's pistol if you have a license to carry a firearm. But if you don't need one if you're storing a long gun for them, but you do if you're storing a pistol. So I would just encourage folks, if you care about, not getting into hot water from a legal perspective, to just be aware of what your state laws are. And that is one reason why we saw a need for Hold My Guns, was because, not everyone is lawfully able to store someone's firearms. And, a lot of times, even folks that are well-meaning, counselors and such, they say, well, just give your firearm to a friend, and that can really land someone in hot water. So we saw a need, and that's why we are working with gun shops so that folks can do that. Something that you might consider, if you're storing a firearm for your friend or you want to help them out in that way, is, you're talking about the 80% a moment ago and whether or not they were serialized. And that is really a clincher for a lot of state laws. So it's possible to store, in most cases, again, please check your state and local laws. It's possible to store a part that is non-serialized. It's a critical part, like a barrel or a firing pin.
Okay.
And, I would just encourage anyone out there, if they know of someone in need or they might need firearm storage, if it's not storing the complete firearm, which is technically that serialized part, especially that serialized part, that they could give a part that's not serialized, and it might be more compliant with the state and local laws. So just be aware of that. You always want to know, what risk you're taking on when you're helping someone out like that.
And I know of a story, a friend of mine, I think it's like a week ago. He was just telling me that one of his friends had some mental health issues, and they contacted him to go and put a trigger lock on all of the firearms at his house and keep the key. So hold your guns type thing would be a good situation, for off-premises storage. Or like you said, maybe you didn't want to buy n number trigger locks, depending, if you have one gun or two guns, that's not a big deal. But somebody like John Crump, you couldn't afford trigger locks for because he just has a lot of guns.
It was a 5-story mansion with, armories in every room. So
every floor.
A lot of trigger locks, every floor. There'd be a lot of locks.
I don't have that many armories.
Not that many.
Yeah.
That's a lot, though. Even one is a lot, John.
I have a small little area where I keep most of my firearms.
Yeah.
Besides the top floor. The top floor.
Donald Trump wouldn't say it's huge. It's huge. He would say that would be like maybe a guest bathroom at Donald Trump's place size armory.
Something else to consider too is, we talked about having a lock or whatever, or even a firearm safe. One of the situations that I helped with before I founded Hold My Guns was I used to be a doula and a childbirth educator. And a doula is someone who helps women during pregnancy, labor and delivery, and postpartum. And so postpartum, one of my clients was really suffering from postpartum depression. And, the thing about that was, she had a new baby. She had a bunch of toddlers. She didn't really have a lot of help. Her husband owned a business and he was just working very hard to take care of his family. And it was just a couple of nights where she didn't get enough sleep. The baby wasn't eating well. The baby was very colicky. And she called me up and said, I have my gun safe open and I'm really thinking of taking my own life. And I said, don't touch. I will be right over. I grabbed a freezer meal. I grabbed one of my kids. And we went over. We brought another friend with us, a mutual friend that she knew. And I went over. We unloaded the firearms. And I put a dinner in the oven. I said, go take a shower and go take a nap. We're going to take care of your kids. Please get some rest. Tomorrow's a new day. And with that, and she's still with us. And so with that really opened my eyes to, and I'm grateful for that experience because it really prepared me for this work for Hold My Guns, which I didn't know about it, that I'd be doing this at the time. But sometimes no matter how many locks you have and or how many safes you have, that if something happens in the home where an adult in the home who has access to firearms is suffering from something like postpartum depression, which it's really hard to predict. I mean, there are some, risk factors, but it's really hard to predict if someone will get postpartum depression. And, it's just one of those things where we want to make sure that there are options for folks who suddenly find themselves in a very unexpected mental health crisis because of hormonal reasons, because of lack of sleep or whatnot. So that's just something else to consider. A lot of folks are like, oh, well, I have a firearm safe, so it's totally fine. But what do you do if your spouse all of a sudden is having a hard time, or if you're having a hard time? None of us know if, the next time we go to the grocery store, if we're going to get into a debilitating car accident and really feel like giving up on life. And we just have to humbly recognize that any of us at any time could be hit with something really unexpected, no matter how prepared we think we are. And that's really, again, the beauty of the firearms community, that we can reach out and say, hey, I'm having a hard time. Can you help me out? Will you help me call this counselor? Will you talk me through what I need to be doing? And of course, that's what I'll be talking about at USCCI, creating an individualized safety plan so that if the unexpected does happen, that you have a plan in place. So I will say too that, a lot of our effort, it's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears on the part of our team, and something that would really, really help are some sponsorships from the firearms community, in addition to, gun shops who are a good fit to be signing on. But it's not simply, it's not simply sponsoring the gun shops, but there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes in order to make all of this run. We're getting calls from individuals who are in crisis. We're helping to place them with gun shops who might not even be partners yet, but we're like, hey, we made these phone calls, someone can help you out. Or simple, stupid things like keeping our website running. Like, we just got all the bills for our website and stuff, so there are day-to-day costs that a lot of times we're just eating here. And to have a sponsor would be amazing. And, something that it really just shines, if, our sponsors in the industry, is that it shows that they're taking leadership on this issue, that they care, and that they actually are helping people. They're saving lives. And there are opportunities, for example, helping to sponsor that QPR training so that more range safety officers and firearms instructors can have that credential added to their list of credentials, so that they are someone who can recognize warning signs and who are equipped to help people. Or sponsoring things like volunteer opportunities through the gun shops, where, we can go and stock a local food bank. And what that does is it helps, an example like that, we can help to bring firearms gun shop customers out of the woodwork, out of isolation, and go do something that makes them feel good while they are taking care of their community. So there's a lot of opportunities to really shine in the firearms industry, and we're really looking forward to partnering with more folks in the industry. It's really important that it comes from our own industry, and something that we see over and over again in other places, like, for example, the education sector. My kids, this morning, we had this huge parent meeting because the school that my kids are homeschooled, but they do like this learning center thing, that the learning center is state funded. No, our learning center is not state funded, but the place where they meet has state funded daycare. And so because they're accepting state money, now they're having all of these COVID mandates that they told us that wasn't going to happen. And they said, well, we have state money, and so we have to comply or we're going to lose our funding. And I never, ever want to put our nonprofit in a situation where, because we've accepted some dirty money from the state, essentially, that we're going to get stuck with a lot of red tape that is counterintuitive to our mission. So to me, it's really important that we work within our own community, and that really protects our mission. So I just want to put that out there, that there is a need, and we try to tough it out, but it would really, really go far if we could have some additional partners to help us out.
Two things. Have you been to Iraq Veteran? There's an event coming up next month. And
unfortunately, it's the exact same time as the USCCI Expo.
Okay.
I would love to go. So, if you're planning on going, feel free to get the word out about Hold My Guns. I believe John and Genevieve from the Gun Collective plan on being there. I'm not 100% sure, but I think they're planning on being there. So if anyone, Genevieve Jones is my co-founder. And so, if you see her there, please give her a hug and ask her how you can support Hold My Guns.
Oh, yeah, sure. And somebody asked a question here. I'm going to have to roll back a little bit. Linda White says, doesn't knowledge of this getting out set somebody up to be red flagged if there's a red flag laws in the future in the state they live in?
Well, we don't ask why the person's storing firearms. So for all we know, they're maybe being deployed or going on vacation. And that's really important. If you only assume that a person is storing a firearm because they're in crisis, you're kind of flagging them. And that is absolutely not our approach. We don't ask on purpose. and we don't ask when they're picking up the firearm. They do have to sign the contract to acknowledge that they're picking up their firearm, that they're not doing it for nefarious purposes, and that they're not a prohibited person. A prohibited person is someone, who's not lawfully able to have a firearm or possess a firearm. And, that includes something like an involuntary commitment. So if they're signing that document, then they are attesting that they are not prohibited. So they are, able to purchase a firearm if they want, for example. And so we're very, very cautious about our wording so that we're not singling people out. And on the flip side of that, let's say that that gun owner were to share with someone that they had a firearm in storage for whatever reason. I would truly hope that it would go well for them to say, this person took personal responsibility. We as a culture, we tell people, if you are having an episode of transient mental illness for whatever reason, maybe your spouse died, maybe you just lost your job and you're really struggling with life, we tell people you can heal from that, you can get help. And so I would hope that anyone who would be critical instead would recognize that someone who did make that choice was doing it for really good reasons, and it should be credited to them for taking personal responsibility. And if we, are not encouraging people to have a sense of agency and personal responsibility in their lives, I think we're doing terribly as a culture. So I just love to throw that back on people. To say, wait a second, it seems like they're being responsible here. So isn't that what you want? And it kind of shuts them down.
Yeah,
Space actually have an awesome comment. Sorry. He said he heard the Taliban started a Hold My Guns branch in Afghanistan for the U.S. government, so it's sweet on them.
We need a sound bite for that, a little clip for that, maybe like an airplane. I don't know. And it's real. What's really sad though is that there are efforts like this, confiscation efforts out there, and I love the work. I love the work of Mom at Arms, that she really kind of shows, she gets to the heart of, Jill gets to the heart of some of this logic that some of these awful gun control groups are putting out there. And she's like, that sounds a lot like the Taliban, or that sounds a lot like China. Like, are we surprised? So I loved her picture of Shannon Watts. Like she did like some meme of Shannon Watts, like congratulating the Taliban or something on their efforts. And really, we really have to keep our heads on a swivel, right? To recognize that some of these things that people are trying to call common sense, gun laws and responsible gun owner, there's a lot of euphemisms there. And we really need to be, as scripture says, wise as serpents and innocent as doves. And we have to have compassion and care for our community and not get caught up in all that crap that infringes on rights. And of course, an evil enemy is going to twist good words like compassion and responsibility for evil purposes. And that we absolutely have to be cautious about that. But at the same time, sometimes we're going to say things and then someone else is going to be like, oh, wow, you sound a lot like the Taliban. That sucks, but that's certainly, look at our mission statement. That's not it. But I certainly can laugh at something like that, because really, that's what's happening in the world right now. And again, that's why it's so important that we don't give up our rights, and that we have a way to help people in crisis that does not infringe on their rights. Diana Mueller even mentioned us during some Senate hearings recently, talking about Hold My Guns, and that it was a way to help people in crisis without infringing on their rights. And recently, I've done a lot of work with helping veterans, and that certainly is something that is a concern in the veterans and service member community as well. We have to find solutions that don't infringe on rights.
So I actually had this happen to me. I put a gun up for sale, and I was kind of surprised. Like, yeah, all right, it didn't sell. I'll take it back. I'll bring it to the gun show and sell it myself. He's like, oh, yeah, I got to do a background check on you. It's $5. I'm like,
and
what?
by the way, I got hairy legs.
Whoops, that was wrong button. I meant for this one. From VA Wolf, John, you have a great gift, and Sarah of Hold My Guns.
Oh, thank you.
And by the way, I got the innocent as doves, wise as serpents mixed up. I've been as wise as doves and as innocent as serpents, so I think I'm in a little bit of trouble.
You don't want to get that mixed up.
Whoops.
Liquor before beer, right? Isn't that how it goes?
No, I always heard
Don't get it mixed up.
I always do it the
Maybe
other
it's
way.
beer before liquor. I don't know. I don't
beer
have to worry
before
about
liquor,
that.
never sicker.
Beer before liquor, never sicker.
Yeah.
And
That's
it rhymes.
always how I did it. Oh. So I'm with Hold My Guns. Do you have to pay $5 to get your guns back?
Yes. And here's the thing. It's a regulated space. Gun shops are a place that, that they have to have some semblance of compliance in order to store a firearm. However, if you are concerned about background checks, you can always store a non-serialized part at a gun shop partner. So that's a thing. But the hardest problem that we had to solve is, how do you store firearms at a gun shop? And they do have to do a transfer to give the firearm back. The way that it works is that you are still the owner of the firearm. The temporary possession is the gun shop temporarily possesses the firearm. We use the consignment and consignment return process as the backbone for that storage program. And that allows them to take in the firearm and to hold it for you. And it keeps them above board and reduces liability. But again, that being said, not everyone wants to do that. So you can always store a non-serialized critical part, and it kind of bypasses that. But for someone, who's going to be going away for an extended stay and they're concerned that they live in a rough neighborhood, they might not want to leave the rest of those serialized parts at home for someone to steal. So, we want to make sure that people are aware of that, but that they know that they have options as well. And if cost is an issue, our gun shops are encouraged to let us know so we can scholarship folks. We try to keep all the costs extremely low. And again, to charge someone, you can't say, oh, we're only going to offer it free if someone's struggling with suicidal ideation, because that singles them out. So we want to keep those costs low, right? And gun shops too can help to scholarship, like through a roundup program or something like that. They can say, hey, would you like to round up the next dollar? We store firearms for folks. And if there's ever a financial need, and that way it creates awareness at the register too of the program. But there are definitely ways that folks can get involved to help offset those costs. And it really does make a difference in the community.
Okay. So Via Wolf says you're more than welcome. And Dark out there points out that I live in the richest county in the country, and it's also the highest county for suicide in the country. Or highest rate of suicide. Weird. All right. There is another question to Rich, my co-host. Go ahead and read it.
Linda White. So is a completed receiver without a serial number or non-serialized part, no paperwork, no transfer?
So in a case where there's if there is a completed non-serialized firearm, you have to be very careful with that. And the same thing with firearms that are, I'm trying to think of the right word. Ashley, what's your name? I'm sorry, Ashley, I can't remember your name right now. She does history of firearms, and she testified recently. She called it a privately manufactured firearm. So in those particular cases, because again, it's a regulated space, you might consider just giving a non-serialized critical part that would be common to even a serialized completed firearm. So if you stored a barrel, for example, from a privately manufactured firearm, then no one would really know the difference if it were from that or from one that you purchased commercially. And that might be a consideration that gun owners of privately manufactured firearms would have if they were to take it to a Hold My Guns location. And again, we really want to be able to protect the liability of our gun shop partners so they can offer this to folks. And, just like the health department inspects restaurants, sometimes there is a spot check from the ATF, and we want to make sure that, although it's simply make, model, serial number listed as consignment, that you wouldn't create a situation that would out a customer. So just be aware of that. We always have to keep our head on a swivel and understand the ramifications of what we're doing. That's great situational awareness in life. But that would be my recommendation, is to store a part that's a common non-serialized critical part. Does that answer the question, do you think?
Yeah,
That's there?
Yeah. How about Rich storing his plane, but because he crashes it a lot?
My plane is already stored in Minnesota
In parts.
in parts. Well, some parts are in New York.
Yeah, mental health has a bad stigma, and it really does. To be 100% frank with you guys, I suffer from generalized anxiety disorder. I know it's crazy to think that I have anxiety, but I do. Yeah, so it affects us all. I'm usually very open about that because I want people to know. Because I don't think it should be a stigma, and the way to get rid of a stigma is to be open about it. I wouldn't say proud about it, but open about it,
Yes,
And by the way, we have 3 codes left for the $10 at Black Swan Tactical.
Nice. John, you have always just been open about that, and I really think that it does encourage people. And to be honest, I think most people have moments in their life, or even ongoing, chronically, that things that they have to manage. But being aware that it's out there helps you to develop the right coping skills, to know what resources are available, and it helps us to have a functional, healthy life, despite the things that we all have to overcome as humans. So it is, we never want to say, oh, that person over there is struggling. I mean, how arrogant is that? And that's really where a lot of stigma comes in. But that stigma is there because there are, situations where, where people, if the wrong person interprets, what someone might say, for example, it's like, oh, wow, I can make a phone call and red flag someone. That's the world that we live in. So we have to be very careful, but at the same time, take leadership in our community to empower people to get help without that fear of, oh my, I have a firearm at home. What's going to happen next? Or, or afraid to talk about it with someone who is going to be able to help them. By the way, I highly recommend the work of Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership. They have a website, 2ADoc, that you can, and they will help you find a professional, whether it's a medical professional or mental health professional, who is pro-rights. And so again, being discerning about who you talk to can make a big difference in your treatment as well.
Yeah, Doctor for Responsible Gun Ownership is a great freaking organization. It's ran by one of the people who runs it is a guy that's been on the show a lot and has some really great books out. Miguel Faria, Dr. Faria is a great guy.
Oh, cool. Dude.
Oh, by the way, yep.
Yeah.
He is totally.
There's his book. I love this book.
Yeah. He is totally a GOA type guy, no compromise type guy. And he was with, I think it was the CDC when they were trying to do all their gun studies that were actually predetermined what they wanted him to say. He was one of the whistleblowers for that.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he was like on my old podcast, the Fireside Chats, like very early on.
Yes. And recently when I did a presentation for it was the VA and Governors and Mayors Challenge, because again, we're going with that idea of 11 out of 17 veterans are not connected with veterans care. So guess what? You need to refer people to community efforts. And if they are a gun owner, our firearms community actually cares about people. And we want to help people in crisis. They don't have to necessarily go to the VA for care. And that was my whole presentation. But Dr. Faria's book is mentioned in my resources, as well as Doctors for Responsible Gun Ownership, Walk the Talk America, DC Project, USCCA instructor training, Black Guns Matter. I just made sure that I put in tons of resources so that anyone viewing that presentation will know that, actually there's a lot of education out there. Actually, there's a lot on firearm safety. There's firearm safety, for hunters, but also for an urban setting. And what is the difference there? And to I also included Nikki Gozer's book, Stalked and Defenseless, in that resource list. She works with DC Project. And I really wanted for the audience to understand a little bit more about firearms culture, but also to get an education about, hey, why are some of these initiatives, of concern to the firearms community and maybe to you too. So anytime I have an opportunity in my work, my attitude is here, my send me. And I just see myself as someone who, it's like, hey, if we're going to be talking about suicide prevention, let's talk about the risk factors. Let's talk about how our community can help. And let's make sure that we're empowering people to have agency and to make informed decisions for their care. Isn't that what you want? Right.
Absolutely.
Yep. We just keep putting it back on them.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, getting back to Miguel Faria for a second.
Yes.
That was a great book that you show. But my favorite book of his is Cuban Revolution: Escape from the Lost Paradise. I don't know if you've ever read that or not.
I haven't read that one.
That's great. It talks about how, he basically, his family, his dad and him had to escape from Cuba, and he was like hunted by the Castro regime and stuff like that.
So he knows firsthand the dangers of gun control and like these little, helpful but yet backdoor, ways that terrible people really exploit to take away rights. And he has seen that firsthand, and I love that about him. He's such an inspiration, and we have so many folks in our firearms community that are just an inspiration every day. So anytime I can mention that, I am not someone who will pull back. If I'm talking in those circles, I keep getting called. Can you come talk to veterans or whatever? I am always going to be promoting the preservation of rights and trying to educate people as to why it's so important that we take this stance.
Yeah, we definitely have to take the stance. We have to fight back against, the gun grabbers out there.
We really do.
The
And have
Shannon
solutions
Watts, the
to
Bloombergs.
They are amazing piece of work, huh?
The Chipmans. All those guys we got to fight back against because they're not good people.
They're not. And we have to be wise to that messaging that unfortunately pulls in a lot of people who are well-meaning, but they haven't really stopped to think about the implications of it. So we have our work cut out.
Yeah, we definitely do. I'm like fighting this stuff every day, and it's kind of frustrating sometimes that people just don't get it. I'm sure my audience gets it because my audience, they're watching a pro-gun show, so they probably are pretty pro-gun themselves. But yeah, we got about 2 minutes here, Sarah. So do you want to go ahead and do a quick little spiel for Hold My Guns?
Sure. That sounds great. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who watched tonight and tuned in and asked amazing questions. It's always a pleasure to be on John Crump's show. We were really grateful to be featured in his book, Speaking with Giants. And make sure, too, that you go to John's show at 8 o'clock on Sunday night. That is
Saturday.
Saturday night. That's going to be kind of a marathon to help prevent childhood cancer. And John, we just absolutely love your heart for the community. And that's why it's always, I always try to say yes, if it works, to be on your show. I just updated our bio on the Hold My Guns Instagram and Facebook accounts. There's now a link tree up there. I encourage you to take a moment and click on the executive summary that gives an overview of our vision and really shows how our partners will be able to shine in the community and really make a difference. So please take a look at that. Again, we need sponsors, we need volunteers, and we need gun shop partners to help us to save lives, protect property, and preserve rights. You're welcome to reach out to me. I can be contacted at sarah@holdmyguns.org to answer more of your excellent questions. It's always a pleasure to see you guys.
Yeah, that's a great spiel. Rich, go ahead and give your plugs out while we are at it.
Okie doke. So, you brought me. I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Rich.
John likes to do that. So I got my Patreon working. It's patreon.com/flyingrich. There's youtube.com/flyingrich. There's flyingrich.com. And of course, there's on Instagram, there's flyingrich_official.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching today. Remember, we are sponsored by the wonderful people at Tusk, also Black Swan Tactical, Toxic Patrico, and JSD Supply. They are all great people, and I encourage everyone to go check them out. I have a Patreon at patreon.com/John Crump if you want to help support the work that I do and help keep the lights on. All right. With that said, I will be back tomorrow. Rich will be back tomorrow. And we have a guy named Ren Williams who is running for a seat in Virginia. So I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.